With me, Ingrid.
Hello!
And we are going back and returning to my adventure with Superman since the series has ended. And I've noticed not many people are doing a retrospective on the whole season, video wise.
Yeah, I haven't really noticed a whole bunch of buzz on this either.
It kind of died down after like a little bit. It seemed like it really died down right after the Lois choose out Clark in episode
Yeah,
5.
I can understand why they might have turned a lot of people off. It's definitely one of the things that we're not too happy about. But the rest of the show is pretty damn good. And it's certainly a lot better at getting Superman than a lot of modern adaptations are lately, structural faults and all.
Exactly. And
And I
starting
have
with
to give it credit because of the particular context it's produced in.
Exactly. And starting back at the first episode, I'm just going to show it here on the screen. I'm not going to jump into the episode, but
Yeah,
yeah,
we had enough technical problems with that last time.
exactly. But yeah, though. So with what we had and what we had with the first couple of episodes was a very good starting point. A great Lois. I still like Lois.
Yeah, I still really like Lois here too.
Yeah, I mean, is she perfect? No, I mean that's kind of the point, but she's definitely. A lot of it is the actress. The actress is good, and despite being a tomboy, she is fine.
Oh yeah, she definitely cleans up nice. There's no doubt about that.
Especially in the whole thing, the backside.
Oh yeah, or she even got to have some more traditional Korean dress and everything, which I thought was super cool.
Yep. Unfortunately, we gotta deal with ads. I downgraded to the other one. But
it's okay.
But that's the bit everyone loves is seeing her. He sees her backside and she sees his abs, and it's like, wow. I love that. I love that.
You may be forgiven for taking a peek.
Exactly. I mean, why? She's already taken off her jacket. Of course, she doesn't care what he sees. Now, it's not a case where it's more the case of the physical attraction exemplifies they're already on their building attraction.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, we're good friends, and oh wow, don't you also look nice?
Exactly. And again, I just love how she's so willing to sew up his stuff and everything for him, and just like,
oh yeah, I thought that was a really nice touch. It shows sort of how down to earth and practical this version of Lois Lane is, that she's ready for particular emergencies like this.
But she's been there.
Yes, very much so.
And the stuff with building up her father and everything, that's straight out of the comics. Her and her dad rarely ever got along. But now in the comics, it's because he wanted sons and got 2 daughters.
Ah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep, he had 2 sons. He had 2 daughters, wanted sons, and basically started raising his sons to his daughters to be like sons. Well, at least in the case of Lois, anyway. That's why Lois has always had that tomboyish side and everything, and it's a military brat. There we go.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yep. I mean, we're not going to do the audio, but...
Of course not. We don't want to get dinged by the copyright god.
There it goes again. Darn it. Okay, this will be annoying doing it this way. You know what? Just forget about it.
Yeah, let's not give ourselves any extra trouble.
Right, but still, with the but yeah, with those, and that episode was definitely the peak for us before major problems set in. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And the problems definitely start coming after episode 4, but the problems were bad enough to make me want to stop watching. I was still invested in it in spite of the flaws.
I know. I mean, especially, I did like the end of Florida when she puts it together about Clark as Superman. And I'm just like...
Yeah, I really liked that. It made a whole lot of sense for her in character. Like, this didn't just feel like she pulled, oh, I realized this out of my ass. It's like, it very much felt like I've been thinking about this for a while, and I slept on it, and suddenly my brain threw this at me in the shower.
Exactly, and then even the start of the next episode when she's trying to corroborate stuff with Jimmy, and given what we find about Jimmy, his actions make even more sense.
Oh yeah.
But then at the end, her jumping off the rooftop, perfectly in character for Lois.
Yeah, that is definitely perfectly in character for her. You can't necessarily fault it on that alone.
But then the whole you lied to me, like, bitch, you hardly knew him.
Yeah, that part definitely seemed a little bit forced, and
He
especially
knew
falling
Jimmy longer.
into an extremely grating and overdone trope.
Oh, really overdone. Tila and what's the girlfriend from Invincible? It's just like, and now granted, Lois was probably the better handle of them because it didn't last that long.
Yeah, it's definitely not the worst handled instance of this trope, but it is a trope that's just for a lot
That
of reasons, and so it definitely grates.
And even then, they tried to backpedal. On its surface, it was fine. Her saying how much of our relationship, like her, you telling me you cared for me, was true, and how much of it is a cover. That's fine. But again, they've barely known each other.
Yeah, it's like if they had been like friends for like
As
six
long as
months or a
Jimmy.
year, I could understand that. But it's like, have you known each other for maybe like 3 months tops?
I mean, granted, you're falling for each other fast. Very fast. I get that. But Jimmy would have more reason to be mad, and he was understandable.
Yeah, it made a lot more sense when in a later episode it's just like,
Well,
I knew this whole time. I was
that was
just
the same
waiting for you to
episode.
tell me.
That was the same episode. That was episode 5 when he revealed, like, I'm said, Clark, I know we're Superman. It's not a big deal. Wait, what? Like, you knew, and it's just like, yeah. And I love how he explained it. Like, first day we met, you broke the hinges off and claimed it was the nails. It could have been the nails. The door handle was snapped in half.
Yeah, that part definitely made a whole lot of sense.
Exactly. I felt that
I
made
feel
sense.
like my particular rewrite of that is sort of where you would bookend sort of what was stated like in the first like set of pilot episodes where it's just like, hey, I would have been down for this, but I just wanted to have an actual choice in the matter. And then it's
Yeah.
just you would sort of have a resolution based on that, where it's just like, hey, maybe I want to be involved in helping you be Superman
Yep.
and make it something around that. Or it's just like, you wanted to give me a choice, or yeah, you get what I'm saying though, right?
Yep.
It's
Exactly.
like it wouldn't have been hard to fix that.
Yeah, exactly. Now, but again, the fact I said it was the very next episode we found about Jimmy. Now, granted, it makes sense given how Lois had found it. Going, hold it! You told Lois before me. Look, it's been a rough 24 hours. My powers are acting up. Things like that. Again, some of the writing felt good, and at least after they got over this hurdle, it cemented in Lois and Clark's relationship. As opposed to being a
Yeah,
breakup.
it's never really brought up again, and from then on, all the threats to their friendship are almost entirely external.
Although it feels more like this was done, set up to both push things further with Lois and Clark, and her knowing helps out, but then on. Anyway, and then of course it sets up no more secrets.
That was destined to fail.
But in a way that at least makes sense. The secrets.
Yeah, it very much makes sense because now they're dealing with stuff that's like legitimate government top secret stuff, and that's legitimately hard to manage.
Okay. Let's go back a second. I'll say this.
Yeah.
The villains, I like the villains to a degree, but I'm more always focused on the Lois and Clark stuff, to be honest.
I perfectly understand that. They're definitely set up as the most compelling thing about this show, and well, everything else is just kind of fancy set dressing for the most part.
It doesn't get good until the end of the season.
Yeah, it definitely ends on a rather high note.
Yeah,
relatively speaking.
But of course, basically they're building up the Rose Galleon. Okay, I gotta ask, where do you stand on it mostly being technological based villains as it went on, as opposed to no mysticism, none of that stuff?
I I feel like if they wanted to keep a more consistent, like sci-fi sort of tone, where it's just like, okay, Superman is an alien and from a place that has really big alien technology, I feel like that definitely worked tonally in this context, where it's just like, okay, things are a little bit more out there, but they're out there in a consistent way. That didn't bother me.
Right. Now, I will say this though, it's made very clear about one particular weakness being missing. I actually did not see that coming. We'll get to that when we
Oh,
get to it. Yeah, well, yeah,
all right.
but yeah, we had Slade showing up in power armor, and we also introduced Livewire and everything. So interesting. Oh, actually, before we go further, that's right. Jimmy knowing makes you wonder: was he a conspiracy theorist because he found out, or did he already have it beforehand, and that just made him worse?
That's a good question. I feel like there's a decent amount of evidence
Once
for
you find
either
out,
interpretation.
once you find out your roommate's an alien, it probably opens your mind to all sorts of conspiracies. Like, what else
Yeah,
is
it's just
true?
like, well, if that's true, what else could be true? It's like, how else would you really reasonably react to something like that?
Yep, and then in the other episode with Monsieur Mal on the brain, this is the first time they've been rather heroic.
Ah, that
Usually they're Titans villains, usually or Doom Patrol villains.
interesting. They definitely kind of seemed like they were definitely an interesting and quirky duo, and they set up some interesting things, but I feel like they honestly came a bit out of nowhere from my perspective. Like, not that
Yeah,
I didn't like them or anything, it's just like, huh, that's really strange.
but
Okay,
again,
then.
these are very long established DC characters. But again, they're usually villains, not well, here or at least good natured people like they are here.
Ah, I see.
But it does open up the door because they're trying to find this portal, working on dimensional travels. At the same time, of course, the general is coming after them and
Mm-hmm.
everything, and then eventually that leads into the very next episode, which was and Clark finally asking Lois on her first date. Which one of my favorite moments was in that episode. Lois seems and
What's that?
Clark is frazzled, freaked out. Lois seems she has it completely together, like, and I'll be 10 minutes early. Sweatpants, Jesus! And there we go. I just love how she realized she's wearing sweatpants, though. She's like, hot sweatpants, Jesus! But you being a girl, have you ever felt like that
Right.
where you're about to walk out and then you realize, wait, what am I wearing?
Hmm.
I mean, heck, even as a guy, I've done that where I've realized, wait, sweatpants, oh, Jesus, because
It's
you're so
like, wait, I'm about to go to the office. I should at least be wearing something presentable, not this. No! Yeah, I've definitely done that.
Yeah, and I love that. But then we're introduced to the League of Loises, and this really,
This
I
feels
love
like
the
it could have
multiverse.
been a plot they moved to next season.
I love the multiverse, but even here, I felt like, okay, I'm not a fan in how this seems to be. They almost acted like it's a certainty that most Clarks are going to be evil. I did not like that.
Yeah, I really didn't like that either. And like I said, it feels like looking at how the season ended, it feels like it would have been really good to have finished on there and then picked up something like this as the hook for the next season.
Now, Mixie, I actually felt was decent. He didn't have the Gilbert Gottfried voice. In fact, his voice did sound a little generic, but it wasn't bad generic. It fit the design.
Yeah,
It fit the design.
it did. And it was definitely an interesting conflict, at least within the confines of the episode.
But again, I did not like the League of Loises. It just felt like it's just their personality. It wasn't the idea. I didn't mind the idea, but again, especially at the very end, how the leader Lois was basically like, and as for you three, she felt like, wait, you're gonna be pissed at them? Why?
It's like, hmm,
But
yeah, that's a bit suspect.
exactly, and Mixie's hard to tell which, like where he stands. At least now, until later on, you start to realize maybe he has more ulterior motives than we think.
Yeah.
But again, I liked a lot of the Easter eggs, the wink, wink, nudge, nudges, and everything with the other universes. But overall, though, I was just, again, like I said, you know me, I gush about the multiverse all the time, but not like this.
Yeah, I feel like you could have cut this plot out moved it out to next season, but you could still have her have some doubt about Lois still have some doubt about like whether or not Superman is going to go bad by having her uncover some kind of top secret
About Zero
government
Day.
file.
About Zero
Yeah,
Day, yeah.
yeah, that would have led nicely into that. That was, yeah, I feel like that episode was definitely kind of the big lipped alligator moment of this
I mean,
particular
it was
season.
important still. It was still
It was
important.
important, but I feel like, yeah, it really should have been later.
Yep, and then we got Vicky Vale showing up, and oh boy, I saw so many people saying, "Why does she look more like Lois than Lois?" What?
What? Yeah,
I mean, okay, Vicky's usually blonde. Usually she's blonde, but so in a lot of ways she does look closer. But it's just like, guys, they want things to be different. Now, where did you stand on her basically being an immoral journalist? Basically, where it's like she already had her opinion bias in her mind before she even started the story, and didn't care whatever came their way or her way.
I feel like it really worked well in the context of the conflict of the episode because it's just like, oh wow, I'm starstruck. Here's somebody I really, really like. And as it turns out, okay, maybe they're not as great a person
You
as I
made the
thought,
duo.
but I had to work with them in order to like keep my job. I thought it was a really interesting broken pedestal, never meet your heroes kind of episode.
Yep,
I,
and
I thought it worked in that context.
it felt like the whole point of this episode was the build up for the heroic moment next episode. And to me, felt it feels a little artificial, doesn't it?
Hmm. Now that you mention it, I can see where you're coming from.
I mean, it makes sense to turn it, and it helped out a lot, but still. And then of course, yeah, you have
I also think it, although I suppose I also think it works kind of in a context of, well, modern journalism where, hey, rage and cynicism sells a lot easier than, hey, things are all nice. So I guess it sort of made sense to me in that context too, where it's just like, oh, people like having dirt dug up.
yep. And then we have the next episode where we find about Zero Day, and this is where things get complicated and how much they are. I won't say mingling the mythos, but trying to put their own stamp on it. I don't know where I feel on it. Okay,
Yeah.
we've had versions in Elseworlds where Superman was sent to take over. And I just realized you're in the corner. Hold on. I just realized the whole time you were in the corner.
You hear me just fine.
I know, but it didn't look right.
That's understandable.
But like I said, though, you had all of that going on. You know, you have that. But because they said in other Elseworlds, there have been ones where Clark was sent to invade. But now it feels like, and we've had versions of course where Brainiac is involved. But okay, there was a lot in this one episode alone. Wouldn't you say? This is definitely the most dense of the episodes.
Oh, yes, definitely the most dense of them.
We found out about what Zero Day is. We found out there was another supposed Kryptonian that attacked back then known as Nemesis Omega. We found out that Sam, which is the general, clearly Sam Lane, which is confirmed, and Amanda Waller lost so many people. They're trying to work on all this. We have the general starting to doubt that Clark is the one. He might be part of it, but he's realizing if they age the same way as us, he'd be too young.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda doesn't care. And how much of this do you think is Amanda feeling that Sam, the general, has lost his way? And how much of it is in her own personal climb for power? It's hard to tell.
It really is hard to tell.
Except for that moment when she intentionally unleashed the bad guys. Then I feel like this was a power grab.
Yeah.
But and then we have the parasite draining all the power and everything, him growing, and then that's what leads to Lois telling everyone, please, he's done so much for us. I know we question him and everything, but if you truly believe, then shut off your power. And they do, and Clark stops them. But the fact that Clark, one, I did like how the general felt like seeing the emotional reaction from Superman, realized, wait, which makes him human. I did like that. Most versions of Sam
Lane, that too, and I thought the actual action segment of him fighting Parasite was pretty freaking awesome.
Right, but in most versions where Sam is very anti-alien, they usually go to the point where he won't even see it. Having this version of Sam being the type who realizes, like, oh my God, he's actually feeling sympathy. He didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
things like that, and then um, on just moments like that just felt so. And then, of course, when Lois and Clark walked in, it's like, I'm a weapon. Why else would heat come out of my eyes? I'm just felt like you felt bad for him.
Yeah, that part felt really genuine because it's just like it's understandable, especially when you're young and still figuring out who you are.
Which makes it then in the next episode when they've realized, like, we can't tell him about the other him. He's already in a bad place right now.
Which, yes, that is a very good assessment. You don't want to throw another brick onto somebody who's clearly already struggling.
Yep. And then we find out this is one of the versions where Brainiac was the Kryptonian AI. And apparently he was trying. Now, here's one thing. Krypton was known for being conquerors before the planet blew up, well before Jor-El. Having it happen around the same time, Brainiac was clearly connected to it, and that Jor-El was trying to deviate from it. It kind of gets a feeling like they were trying to take a lot of Dragon Ball Z in here and have it be that.
Yeah, I was feeling the Dragon Ball Z vibes here too. Where it's just like, wait a minute, I'm getting a sense of deja vu for it. I don't hate it though.
Right. But Superman was basically Goku, who was supposed to go there and attack and everything. And just things like that have to be that I was going to say, them going out to, them getting promoted finally, from being intern, like, you're a lousy intern, so we're promoting you. I love that from Barry.
Oh, I loved that. That part was definitely felt really satisfying.
Yeah, like, you're lousy as intern, so we have no choice but to promote you. I'm like,
oh, that was great.
That felt like something a good boss would do to mess with you, right?
Yes, that very much felt in that vein, where it's just like you have that brief heart attack, and where it's just like, oh, I'm getting promoted? Awesome.
But here's the thing where I wonder if Mixie had intent. Because this is a universe where Krypton didn't exist. Kryptonite did not exist on Earth.
Oh.
Remember that. Jor-El said Kryptonite wasn't there. The ship didn't activate until it sensed the Kryptonite Lois had, which was from another Earth. That Mixie that Mixie made sure she got.
Well then, that's sus.
Yeah. It's just, and then of course, and that's what activated the AI and everything. And yeah, and the fact that then Jor-El's virtual ghost sacrificed itself to save Clark. And Jimmy almost died if it wasn't for that happening.
Yeah.
There was some good stuff in here. But again, it's
and another part with Jor-El's ghost, it's worth noting that he's been speaking almost entirely in Kryptonian, except at the very end.
Exactly. And but again, they're making this their own unique universe, and I give them props for that.
Yeah.
And obviously they're not going to they're changing things, but they're not changing things too much. Like, they're not going the route like Telltale did with Batman, where they had Thomas Wayne be a criminal. No, they're not going that far where Jor-El was bad. They're still keeping Jor-El the absolute good. It was everything else around him that was bad about Krypton, which that I can accept.
I can accept that too. It's just like the one bright light in a bunch of darkness, because that's very much something that thematically reflects Superman as well.
Well, what do you do about Perry buying Flamebird?
I thought that was a little silly, but I also thought it was funny enough to work.
But that was clearly done to make sure that Jimmy was now rich.
Yeah.
But now, who do you think that mysterious Kryptonian is at the end? Like, given how he says about kneeling, I think we'd all know who he is.
Yeah.
It's probably General Zod.
Yep. I was thinking it, and I barely know anything about Zod beyond that.
Now, what do you think of how did you think the dinner sequence went between Lois and Clark and his parents and the general?
I thought it was the perfect level of awkward for that sort of interaction.
Very much so. And it's just, Especially, and I love how he's squeezing the door handle and everything, but he keeps his cool. But I do also like how the general, he feels there's something off. He doesn't realize it, but he almost does. Like, have you ever? And how often did you take off those glasses? Tells you he's just as observant as his daughter.
Yeah, and it makes a ton of sense.
Exactly. He still
He's
doesn't
even
realize.
more of a position to be looking for it than she was.
Exactly. And we didn't mention last episode, he has been demoted and Waller has taken his position. Now he's tasked with killing the Superman, which I have a feeling is, given what we already set up here, it's going to not go well for him next episode. And not next season.
Yeah.
He's probably going to find out it's that it's Lois, the person Lois loves. He's not that bad a guy. Even more giving emphasis that he's not that bad a guy.
Mm-hmm.
The fact. Hold on. But what did you see about the fact about Clark finding out about that file and the other Supermen?
Like I said before, I feel like this is something that could have been next season.
I agree, but again, this was so it's so different and so dramatic that I like it for what it's like. What I said.
I do freaking love heroes confronting potential evil versions of themselves. Hell, I like to play around with evil versions of my own OCs and thinking of like how exactly they could go wrong. And it's like there is a little bit of merit in the idea that, hey, Superman is good because he chooses to be good, not because he's not necessarily just like inherently sunshine and rainbows. And I feel like something like that could enforce that. So it's like there is some good stuff in here. I just didn't think this was the right place for it.
Exactly. But I'm saying this overall first season was rough. Wasn't bad. I've seen a lot worse. It wasn't preachy. It just felt like it was rushed. It was so rushed. And I think that problem comes with you don't know how long the show is going to last, which I get it. It's a case where like I get my one chance to do a show like this. I'm going to put all I can, but they could have handled it better.
Yeah.
And
I feel like if they polish up the rough stuff for season 2, this may be one of the best pieces of Superman media ever.
And I'll say this as well. It's something similar to what I said about the Telltale Batman series. A lot of the changes that were done, I accept it, and it works within that particular media. Would I want it anywhere else? No. Would I want this any of it canon? No. But if I look at this in a vacuum of being just another bit of Superman media that stands on its own, I accept and can swallow a lot of the changes that the more controversial changes better.
Mm-hmm.
Like the League of Lois's, for example. And again, overall, I would give this whole thing a 7 for this first season.
I would agree, a 7 or a 7.5. Like, it's got its issues, but I won't say I dreaded watching it.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. And to those who complain about
and I'm cheering for this to be better. I can see the potential here. They just have to iron out the kinks a bit more.
Exactly. And I want to say this. A lot of people who are complaining saying the Reuters of the minute they took influence from She-Ra and all that. It's like clearly it doesn't show that much in the writing. They might have taken some influence, but for the most part, it's true blue taking stuff from the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the Lois, that's the other thing I would say. The stuff with, again, going back to the stuff with Lois, we might have had some issues with it for, like in that immediacy. But the fact that it didn't last that long makes it a lot better, wouldn't you say?
Yes, it didn't overstay its welcome.
Exactly. So, you've heard us what we had to say about this. It was a good series. Go out and watch the first season. Don't expect the greatest Superman story you've ever seen, but definitely expect something that's going to be very entertaining at the very least. if you're the type who can put aside changes, drastic changes to the mythos. So, yep. Any final words you want to give, Ingrid?
Not really. I think we said all that really needs to be said at this point.
Agreed. So we'll see you all on the next one. Take care.